Hey everyone, welcome to Theo and the Bots episode 3. Really excited to have Joyce Sidopoulos here with us today. Joyce, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Joyce Sidopoulos. I'm one of the co-founders at MassRobotics, and I am the Vice President for Programs and Community there.
Well, so, one of the first questions I wanted to ask you is always a standard on this show is what is your favorite Hollywood robot and what is your favorite real world robot? But maybe in that context, you can tell us a little bit more about MassRobotics and what it does.
Sure. So my favorite Hollywood robot is super obvious, and everyone loves R2-D2. I was in high school when Star Wars came out and became passionate about robots and engineering and building and all that kind of stuff. As far as my favorite real world robot.
I see you've got an R2-D2 up there on your
Of
shelf.
course. Gotta have one of these. Is actually a timer. I have lots of these around the house too.
So one of the interesting things about R2-D2 is it doesn't speak English.
Right.
And maybe that's one of the reasons why it's so endearing. What are your thoughts on that topic?
Well, you know what? The sounds it makes are super cute. And so, think about communications. How do robots communicate? No one's to say that they speak language like we do, right? It's all the way they communicate. And I'm sure each frequency means something.
Huh.
I just can't.
Maybe there's an interoperability standard there or something
There you
like
go.
that. All right, so sorry, I interrupted you. Favorite
okay.
real world
And then
robot.
my favorite real world, and this is a super difficult one because, as you know, MassRobotics works with lots of startups, and I work with lots of startups on a daily basis. And you can't really pick one over the other. What's your favorite? It's like picking your favorite child, right? Nobody, you can't say that, right? All of them, all of them feel special enough that they feel like they're the favorite. That's the real trick. So, at MassRobotics, the facility MassRobotics, we have about 65 startups we work with on a daily basis. All of them have different needs. All of them are at, different points in their journey. Some are going to manufacturing. And so every day is a different experience, different needs, trying to connect them with different people to help them, different resources. And that's everything from where to manufacture, who their customer could be, connecting them with VCs, connecting them with potential talent. It's just every day is exciting and different.
Yeah, that's great. So what would you say is one of the most surprising things that you've learned as you've worked in robotics over the past decade, and why are you passionate about this?
So what's interesting is it's not necessarily the technology, but it's the way that they are put together. And it's super interesting to see these young innovators come up with ideas of connecting things that I would never have thought of connecting to find a solution for a problem. And another thing that I love to see is the startups working together. So one startup will be next to someone else at lunch and they'll say, "Hey, what do you work on?" And then a month later, you see they're actually working together and providing a different solution. It's crazy how much can actually just be combined together to provide new solutions. Every day there's something different that you learn.
Yeah, so you've had such an amazing career so far in this area, and I'm wondering what advice you might have for other women who might be intimidated or afraid of sort of technology or robots as a career choice.
Well, it is a scary thing always to jump into something that you don't know, right? So I would say, find your passion and just follow it. The rest all kind of falls into place. I worked in the Navy for many years where I was the only girl going out on a ship, but I loved it. And I loved, training the sailors and giving them new software patches for their detection algorithms. And as long as you love what you're doing, you find a way to make it work. And of course, there's lots of obstacles, especially for girls, being in this still a man's world, really. But I find that if you're a team player and you're good at what you do and you're passionate about what you do, you're treated like a team player. So really, the way you treat people is the way they're going to treat you back. And so I found, even like I said, being on a Navy ship where I was the only girl, I just was one of the guys that played cards at night with them, and they considered me a team player. So I would say my best advice is be a team player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And things are always scary until you try it, until you do it. And I think that's
Hmm.
always been the biggest thing that I've experienced is um, it's the fear of the unknown. But as
Right,
soon as you
right,
jump in with both feet, you very quickly get comfortable and become a contributor. So
right.
there's plenty of room for everybody. And I would personally encourage anyone out there who has any interest at all in this to pursue it because it
Mhm.
is the future and there's so much need for talent from all
Right.
walks of life to contribute.
Really, and if you think about it, every industry is going to be touched by robotics. So we've been running our signature series where we bring in different industries and we learn what their issues and challenges are. And then we have our startups that are working in an area that could help with those challenges. And there's always connections made and pilot programs started, but everything from construction where you can see where robotics would help, right, to medical, to
Yeah,
farming, right, agriculture, and not just agriculture and farms, but then there's also the food service industry, the service industry in general. I mean, if you look
retail, cosmetics.
at manufacturing, of course, but
Yeah,
hospitality, I mean, everyone is hiring
yeah,
and the people just aren't there. And so robotic can definitely help with that, right?
yeah,
So I just feel that it's going to touch every industry.
yeah. That's a great observation. I love that. So the last episode ended with Aaron Prather from FedEx mentioning the next big thing for robotics being interoperability. And you, of course, were absolutely central to work in this area. Can you just give us a very quick overview of the MassRobotics interoperability standard, why the
Sure.
world needs it, where it is right now, and where it's going?
Right, right. So the standard is really to help with adoption of robotics, right? So, one robot can't do everything. And so robots are going to have to work together. And so how do they work together if they're like an R2D2 and they speak a different language, right? And
Mm,
how do they know where each other are in the factory? So, or on the distribution floor. And if you see what COVID has done with ordering online and fulfillment centers, you need robots there. And so how do those robots talk to each other? There's a robot that's going to go in and unpack a truck, right? And then they're going to have to put things on shelves. And there's the robots that are going to be running up and down the aisles picking the shelves. And there's the delivery robots. And then what happens when there's a spill on the floor? A different robot's going to come out, a cleaning robot, right? So they're all different vendors. And how are they going to talk to each other? Like I
mm,
know they all have collision avoidance on them, right? But it would be much better and more efficient if they knew where each other were so they could get out of each other's ways in advance. So this group got together and decided, let's start super simple. We had lots of debates about what types of data should be transmitted back and forth. Should we have a task manager? And so we really decided that keep it simple. Let's get it out there early so that people can start using it. And let's talk about what kind of data would be useful for each of the robots to have about each other. And so that's sort of where we started. We also went to vendors. So part of the group included engineers, AMR companies, as well as the companies that were using the AMRs. So
mm.
FedEx, DHL, Procter and Gamble. They all really had input into this initial data exchange that we kind of worked out. And so, what were the types of data that needed to be exchanged? How do you have your reference point in the factory? Is it going to be a position or is it going to be GPS? And each topic we went through the message protocol. There was a debate, and people went off and did their homework, and people came back and did a presentation, and things were voted on. So it was really a true collaborative effort to come up with this first initial standard. And it's out there, and there's a really terrific blog post on the MassRobotics site that kind of walks through all this and
Mm.
talks about the data, and then gives you the link to the public GitHub that has all the
Yeah,
information there.
maybe we can put that link right here in the video.
Oh, perfect. Yep.
Well, that's really great. Well, so, we were just at MDM East, Tom Ryden, who was the executive director there at MassRobotics, and myself and some others spoke on a panel. So let's go to a quick clip from that.
Hey everyone,
everyone. Daniel here with Theo and the Bots. I'm at MDM East. What do you like about MassRobotics?
It's really cool to be in a place with a bunch of other robotic startups, facing similar challenges, sort of in the same stage of our careers. I think without MassRobotics, the early stage startup life would be pretty isolating, and it's really cool to sort of, be surrounded by people going through the same stuff.
So on our last episode, we got a question from our audience. Let me see, where is that? All right, so I apologize if I mispronounce your name, Chris, but Chris Sturgio of Chelmsford, Mass. says, Aaron said that the only thing holding back autonomous vehicles is the stupidity of people. Does this mean we should isolate people so that robots can have a perfect operating environment? Any thoughts on that, Joyce?
So it used to be, this reminds me of a drone show that we did a while ago, where typically the drones are in the cage and they actually had the people in the cage and the drones out in the open. So it's similar to that. I think, there's always going to be curious people and people jumping out in front of the autonomous vehicles just to test them. And we have to be prepared for that. The robots have to be prepared for that. But I think the most difficult time for autonomy as far as cars are going to be when we have a mixed fleet, when we have people driving and cars that are autonomous. That's going to be
that's exactly what Aaron was saying as well.
Because people don't follow the rules, and they'll cut you off, and they'll cut closer than an autonomous vehicle that has a program, knows how much space it needs before it cuts in front of somebody, right? But people are always, especially Boston. New York, you know how those drivers are a little crazy.
So I like to give the example of trying to get anywhere in a car in South Station during the middle of the day.
Right.
You have to break every rule in the rule book if you want to actually make any progress, and robots aren't going to be able to do that. But yeah, I think, Chris, to really answer the question directly, is that's the whole point that Aaron was making about starting in the warehouses, because the warehouses are more controlled, and as the robots get better and better, you'll be able to take on more chaos, but to not try and start from day one in the most chaotic and most risky situations. So if you have any questions for Theo and the Bots, please enter them in the comments section below. Well, Joyce, it's been great to have you on the show. We really appreciate everything you're bringing to literally the world of robotics.
Well, you're welcome.
And hope you have a great holiday.
It's been a great journey so far. Thanks, Daniel.
Take care.